Hello, my dear students. This is Mrs. Shaymah Gharib, and today's lesson about nets of 3D shapes, prisms, such as triangular prism, pentagonal prism, hexagonal prism, and octagonal prism. Let's revise some rules before you watch any video. First, you have to sit in a quiet place. You should have your pen and a piece of paper to take notes and to solve questions. You should pause the video after each question, then you try to answer on your own. Then you play the video to check your answer and to understand the question in case you get a wrong answer. Are you ready? Let's talk about prisms. What is the prism? The prism is a 3D shape with flat faces, so all faces should be flat faces. It has two identical bases opposite to each other. We call them the cross section. The cross section or the two identical bases could be triangle, square, rectangle, pentagon, hexagon, etc. The other faces could be rectangles or squares. We name the prism according to the shape of its base or the shape of the cross section. The cross sections will always be the same size and shape as the identical bases. Which solids are prisms, or which 3D shapes are prisms? The cube is a prism. The cuboid or the rectangular prism is a prism. And the triangular prism, as you can see, we also have a pentagonal prism and hexagonal prism and octagonal prism. And as you can see, we name them according to the cross section of each one. We talked before about the cube and the cuboid in previous videos. In this video, I will show you some properties of the triangular prism.
This shape is a triangular prism. A triangular prism has 5 faces, 9 edges, and 6 corners. Triangular prisms have 2 faces that are triangles and 3 faces that are rectangles. The 2 triangle faces are always the same size.
After watching the video, let's see some properties about the triangular prism. The triangular prism has how many faces? 5 faces, as we said before. 2 are triangular bases and 3 are rectangular faces. It has how many edges? It has 9 edges, 3 at this base and 3 in the opposite base, and these 3 that attached to them. And how many vertices? It has 6 vertices, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The cross section of the triangular prism is a triangle. That's why we call it triangular prism. Now, let's see a video about the net of the triangular prism.
This is the figure of a triangular prism. It's a triangular prism because the 2 bases are triangles and the other faces are rectangular. If there were 2 rectangles as the bases, it would have been called a rectangular prism or a cuboid. Now let's try to draw the net of a triangular prism. Let's take its duplicate and dissect it. There are many ways in which we can open it up along its edges. We can start off by opening the rectangular face on the right. Then we can open up the rectangular face on its left. Then drop the 2 triangles to get this. This is the net of a triangular prism. And the top view will look like this. The yellow and the red rectangular faces are the faces to the right and the left of the prism. The black one is at the bottom. The green and the blue ones are the identical parallel faces in the front and the back. Remember, this is not the only possibility. Let's zoom out and see the different possibilities. The prism may be opened up to look like this. We can see that the position of the green triangle has changed. The prism can be opened up to look even like this. Let's zoom out and see another possibility. It might look like this. It all just depends on how you open it up. All these nets are possibilities for this prism.
Now, after watching the video, let's see the nets or the possible nets for the triangular prism. All these nets here are possible nets for the triangular prism. It's really important to know the possible nets for the triangular prism. Try to sketch them and know them well. Now let's talk about nets of the pentagonal prism. As you can see here, there are some photos for the pentagonal prism. The pentagonal prism has, as you can see, how many faces? It has 2 bases and all the faces around, so it has 7 bases. 2 are pentagonal bases and 5 are rectangular faces. It has how many edges? 5 at this base and 5 on the opposite base and 5 connects between them. So it has 15 edges and how many vertices? 5 at this base and another 5 in the opposite base. So it has 10 vertices. The cross section of the pentagonal prism is a pentagon. As we said before, the prism takes its name from the cross section. Now let's see nets of the pentagonal prism. This is one of the possible nets of the pentagonal prism. We have 2 pentagons and 5 rectangles. This one also could be a possible net for the pentagonal prism. It has 5, as you can see, 5 rectangles and 2 pentagons. Now let's talk about the nets of the hexagonal prism. This is the shape of the hexagonal prism. Let's answer some questions about the hexagonal prism. The hexagonal prism has how many faces? What do you think? 1, and the opposite one 2, and 6 rectangles. So it has 8 faces. 2 of them are hexagonal bases, or 2 of them are hexagon, and 6 of them are rectangular faces or rectangles. It has how many edges? 6 in this base, 6 in the opposite base, and 6 connect between them. So it has 18 edges and how many vertices? 6 at this base and 6 on the opposite base. So it has 12 vertices. The cross section of the hexagonal prism is a hexagon. Now let's see possible nets of the hexagonal prism. As you can see, 2 hexagons and 6 rectangles. And this is a different net for the hexagonal prism. It also has 2 hexagons and 6 rectangles. Now let's talk about the octagonal prism. Let's answer some questions about the properties of the octagonal prism. The octagonal prism has how many faces? It has 10 faces. 2 are octagonal bases, or 2 of them are octagons, and 8 of them are rectangles. It has 24 edges, 8 at the bottom, 8 on top, and 8 connects between them. And how many vertices? It has 16 vertices, 8 at the bottom base and 8 on the opposite base. The cross section of the octagonal prism is an octagon. Nets of the octagonal prism. This is one of the possible nets for the octagonal prism. As you can see, 2 opposite and identical bases. Both of them are octagons, and we have 8 identical rectangles here. Sometimes the rectangles are not identical according to the shape of the octagon. Also, this one is a possible net for the octagonal prism. It has 2 opposite and identical octagons and 8 rectangles. This is the end of our lesson today. Thank you for watching and see you soon.